I like coloring. Just Chicken Sith's cheesecake challenge drawing from the other day. Uh, I've been messing around with some of the stuff, so my settings on OBS, I hope they work out well. Uh, Start down here. And as we join myself on the first arc of clicking a lot of stuff. Huh. Okay, that's weird to have that right there. Kind of just sort of ends.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, just wanted to stop in and say hello. I had a quick break. I'm digging your art, man.
Oh, this is Chicken Sith's.
Okay, chicken's right on.
Yeah, I'm just coloring it.
Oh, cool. Wait, so okay, let me ask you this. You're doing the writing and the coloring.
For the Veil War,
Yeah.
no, I'm not gonna do the coloring. I'm not up to the level of what I think it should be.
Oh, right on.
Oh shit, what was that?
I didn't hear anything.
Oh, I heard some like screech.
Huh. I hope it wasn't me.
Okay, introduce yourself because I'm trying to go off the voice.
Oh, yeah, totally. Hey, I'm Chase. I uh I read comics. I write as well. I mostly write short stories, but I'm learning the scripting process, and it's coming very easily, and it's a lot of fun. But man, I work two jobs as well, so I don't have a ton of time to really put into a lot of extracurriculars right now.
Yeah, it does take a lot of work to study stuff,
Yeah,
especially when you're learning. So, now
absolutely.
you said you were Chase. Who, like, what's your screen name?
Oh, sorry, I'm Gateway into comics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I can
um,
pick up the voice really quick and easy, and sometimes I'm just like, not sure.
For sure. Yeah, I've heard your voice on a few channels, so I can recognize yours sometimes as well. I so I just picked up a couple new comics, because it's Wednesday, and I do reviews occasionally on comic books. And dude, I just read Marvel Rising. Oh God, at number one. So this is starring, well, on the front is Captain Marvel and America Chavez and Spider-Gwen, but none of those people are even in the freaking book. It's Squirrel Girl, Miss Marvel, and Dante Inferno. I'm telling you, this was such a bad book. Oh my God, Marvel is so horrible.
Why do you keep on buying their books?
um, but to review them. I think it's important, and for some people to at least still do that. I do burn them with a flamethrower when I'm done reading them, live on camera. So some of that's kind of a gimmick, but it's enjoyable. I actually, and I know it sounds crazy, I enjoy hate reading these books.
Oh, I've never gotten into the whole hate reading, hate watching. It's like
Yeah, I like
it's
it a
weird
little
for
bit.
me.
Yeah, no. Now, of course, I do read very good books that I enjoy as well. I'm not just gonna, I don't know, I'm not just gonna read crappy stuff. I have some books that are just fantastic that I still look at. I really like post-apocalyptic stuff, you know. And the most recent title that's actually pretty cool that's post-apocalyptic is by Gary Whitta. He's I think he had a hand in writing Rogue One. Um, he's cool because the dude's not a denouncer, you know. He doesn't tell his consumers to eat a boot covered in you know what. And his series is really good. He's writing Oliver by Image Comics, and I'm really loving it. It's only in the second issue, but I'm digging it quite a bit.
Yeah, it's nice to actually hear someone with in Star Wars isn't doing that type of shit. So
Yeah, dude, totally. Because most of them, man, they just hate all the consumers, you know.
Alan Spark says, "Nice and detailed. This is going to be part of a comic." No, this was part of. I think, Slick Jimmy had a thing going on, like Drawn and Cornered the other day, and it's supposed to be like the Cheesecake Challenge. I think that's what it is, but I'm not positive. I just saw it on a Twitter, and I was like, I'll color that. Looks fun.
Right on. Yeah, it looks good. It really does. It's what program is this you're using?
Photoshop CS6.
Oh, okay, cool. Right on. Yeah, you know, it's funny. I can draw stick people. That's about it. That really is it.
Yeah, I can. I used to be an animation major, and then I was
Oh, right
like,
on.
my talent got destroyed by the school I went to.
Mm,
It was a scam school, and
mm.
their purpose was pretty much to burn you out.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
I've heard reports of that from similar reports from all over the U.S. with people that do that.
Yeah, it's the Art Institute of Pittsburgh that I went
Mm-hmm.
to, but all the art institutes are part of the same shit.
Yeah, yeah, they have them. They have them out in where I am too. Yeah, a lot of them have closed down though. You know, they really have, which it's good since I hear all of those reports of them. You know, misallocating funds and not teaching people properly. You know.
Well, what happened with me is, one of the things that they did was, they said that they have liberal scheduling where you get to select when you get to go to play the classes,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I can't go to. I'm like a late. I I'm more nocturnal, so I can't be waking up early in the freaking morning to go to classes. And they set all my classes to early in the morning. It's like,
Mm,
and then they
yeah.
also made it so that like the classes would be spread out, so it would be like the first class was early in the morning, and then the second class was just at late enough so that walking away from the school for a while to get away uh wouldn't be worth it, and then it'd be late enough so that you wouldn't have you go home and you'd be dead tired, and you'd have to go to right to bed at that moment if you were planning on going to a class in the morning.
Mm,
And it was like every semester or quarter that happened.
yeah. Yeah, that's super unfortunate. So, what kind of books do you mostly read? Like, what's one of your favorite series or a couple of them from over the years? Just
Uh,
comic books.
Comics. Well, I I followed sort of. I'm weird because I don't didn't read comics all that much. I got into comics in like 2009 ish,
Right
and it
on.
was before that I got into comics regularly, but I didn't have any way of getting them. So 2009 is when I started reading comics, American comics, and I did it specifically for studying for DCUO. So like, I'm gonna
Oh,
have a character uh, that I know the background for, because role playing and video games and MMORPGs and stuff. So I went and got all the books and stuff for like all the Bat family,
oh, right on.
and read everything from like 1986 to whatever the present day was at the time.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's like 4,000 books.
Yeah. I was thinking it was I was thinking around 2000, but that's big.
Yeah, I
I
tried.
never.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. I never really read a ton of DC up until recently. I've been picking up a couple titles, but I mostly grew up on Marvel. You know.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite on with that. I don't like uh any of the mainstream Marvel. Some of them are
Yeah.
kind of cool, but I never got into it, and I tried to get into it in like 2003, but
Mm,
Marvel screwed up all my subscription stuff, or the mailman or something,
sure.
because I
Yeah.
like ordered them to come through the mail, and every single issue that came through the mail was destroyed. And it was because
Mm-hmm.
it was during the time when Peter Parker had revealed his identity to the world, and he was a school
Uh-huh.
teacher, and I was like, "That's a cool idea. I want to see that."
Yeah.
And everything was destroyed. Like,
Uh,
I'm like, God damn it! But
yeah.
uh, to give them credit, Marvel did refund all the money that all my subscription for that.
Well, that good. I
Yeah.
mean, that at least that happened. Now, you know, today, and, you know, I don't pick up a ton of these. You know, as far as I've heard, there are really only three consistent titles that are being pushed out of Marvel that are could easily be an 8 out of 10. And this is, you know, of course, people in our circles that are reviewing these, you know, saying the only things that are really fantastic right now are Immortal Hulk, Venom, and maybe one or two other titles. You know, and that's absolutely true. Everything else is almost garbage. It's like 2 out of 10, 5 out of 10, just really bad. You know, and it's funny. You know, they're rating all this online to be, you know, nothing below a 7 or an 8 out of 10. And so, I mean, these rating sites are just a pure joke.
Well,
You know.
are they using the rating the just no, what is it called? Where they rate everything as like 7 as average, or are they using like 5 as average?
Oh, yeah, that has to be it because I mean, you know, if they're putting it out there that you know, nothing's below a 7, then clearly they're setting that as their baseline. But they're doing it deceptively, you know, to make
Yeah.
people actually buy the books, and someone will pick it up and be like, "Wow, this is actually the complete reversal of that. It's actually a 3 out of 10 when they rated it a 7 out of 10." You know, no one's honest. I think they all want jobs at Marvel, man. You know?
Well, I'll tell you that everything from like the DCU New 52, like
Yeah.
it was a crapshoot whether it was good or not. It was like, oh, it's a 50-50 chance pretty much at everything that
Mm.
you picked up during that time period. And
I've
I
heard
imagine
that.
it got like worse over time.
Yeah, I've heard that about the new 52 that it was about a 50-50 chance. That's what people were telling me. I read a few books from that era just because I really like magic a lot. And so I picked up some of the magic books, the Justice League Dark trades. You know, I have a few of those from when that was going on. It was pretty good. That was pretty good. But again, I don't know how to say his name. Demateus, Dematis.
Uh,
I think he's a good writer, you know, and just in general.
I got yelled at for my opinion on that one
Oh
because
yeah,
I think it's garbage. Like
right on.
Justice League Dark, at least the ones that I read were garbage, but I'm not big on
Yeah,
like any of the characters that were in there.
sure.
And a
Yeah,
lot of
everybody
people
has.
were defending what's his name, the Magic Dude.
Constantine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everyone
yeah,
likes
no,
Constantine, so
yeah. He's not one of my favorites. I really like the Chimp a lot, actually. Detective Chimp quite a bit, and so I really like that he's in the new ones. And Constantine's pretty much absent a lot in the newest Justice League Dark series that Tinian's writing. It's actually pretty decent. The one I'm still running today, you know.
I think they shouldn't have called it Justice League Dark.
Well said.
Cause
Yeah. They should.
like if anything else, it's like it doesn't fit Justice League at all.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty far from that whole lore. It really is. You know, they're trying something new. I remember before that that series was called something else, and like I said, I don't read a ton of DC, so I have no idea. I don't remember what it used to be called, but yeah, there were books before that I think that during the New 52 is the first time that they really started using Justice League Dark is the title, you know.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard them call it some. Uh, don't think I've ever heard of that group,
Yeah,
and or the title of Justice League Dark. But like I said, I don't follow that branch of the magical stuff of DC, so I probably just missed it.
sure.
Eh,
Well, let me ask you this: do you read any Alterna comics by the Peter Simeti books?
I
Have
didn't
you picked
even
any of
know
those up
about
yet?
them until like recently, and I don't have
Oh,
any
right on.
money, so
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, some of them are pretty good. I'm enjoying. He's just a really nice dude, you
yeah, I
know.
like Peter. He's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, he's cool to everybody. I dig him. I dig what he's doing. You know, he's wanting to kind of start his own distribution thing that'll separate from Diamond and actually not have predatory practices on comic shops, which would be really fantastic.
Yeah, I'm happy that he's actually focusing on or targeting trying to get the spinner racks back, at least in some
Yeah, that's
places.
yeah, that's legit. It really is. Well, hey man, I just kind of wanted to step in and say hey and chat with you for a quick minute, but I have tons of work to do before I have to go back to work in the morning. Like I said, I work two jobs, so I'm constantly busy. But dude, thanks for inviting me on and having me in that group, man. I'll hop on again in the future.
Yeah, whenever you get the chance, just hop on. I don't know how often I do this, but I try to do it as often as possible. Uh, Even just for practice and to build up an audience.
For
And they're also
sure.
good advertising for other people and myself.
Sure, absolutely. Right on, man. Well, yeah, enjoy the art and man, have a great day.
Yeah,
Good
you
talking to you,
too.
man.
Have a great day.
Take it take it easy, bud.
And that's really hard to follow some of the lines here. Like to figure out where they're going. That's nothing to do with the quality of art. That's just me trying to predict where things are going. Been seeing it up close so much. Look at everything. Done. See, there was other places. It's there and there. Okay. No, I already got that one. And that's just the hair. That. Like somewhere in this range was what I saw on the starter decolor thing. These are nice thick lines, so it makes it really easy to select underneath it. Man, something feels laggy on my computer. I don't know what it is. I am shut down more stuff than I usually do, so it shouldn't be lagging as much. I'll deal with that later. Okay, let's see if we can figure out what is hair and what is not hair. Damn it. Hmm. And I think that should be fine. Swear to God, my computer is not cooperating with me today. Every time you see that it selected a weird selection, it's because the program has made a mistake and it decided that I'm done with making the selection, so it completes it without me selecting to complete it. It's just fun, because then I have to redo it. That's the shadow. The shadow knows. Of course the shadow knows. The shadows know everything. Alright, hold up. I can reselect that small one, but this one. Correct that first, and then so her light continues down there. Okay. You know, I haven't watched Scorpion in a while. The TV show. Hey, Riot Kitty. I don't know why I started thinking about Scorpion at this exact moment. It just popped in my head. Yeah, I'd be a lot further along with it if my computer wasn't battling me for some reason today. So how are you doing today, Riot Kitty? Okay, see, I wish Mike Miller was watching this or John Malin was, because right here is what they're always talking about with the tangents. Don't do this shit. Because it's the tentacle coming straight off of this, and it looks like it's coming off of this when it's going underneath, and it flattens out the image. And it also makes it hard to, like, figure out what's going on there. There's a lot of this shoe area that's kind of messy. Like, this comes up, and then it just stops, and it should be followed up right, like, through here. Or something. Because that's the lace right there. Oh well. Did I get all the tentacles? Yeah, I got all the tentacles. No. Throwing solid color of gray. How the fuck did it do that? Okay, I have no idea why it's doing that. Select. No, no. It's... I have no idea why it's doing this. Hello?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Who's this?
Todd.
Oh, hey.
How's it going, man?
Pretty good. There's only one Todd that I know of, so... That must be you.
What you working on?
Slick Jimmy had his, cheesecake challenge, I think, the other day.
Yep.
So, I just saw this, and I think, Chicken Sith did it for that yesterday. So nothing important. It's just practice and something to stream.
Right.
I was just trying to figure out why my, Photoshop is doing that thing with solid color where it's like creating a mask and filling the mask with black. No idea why it's doing that. But yeah, today's been like all during the stream. My computer's been messing with me and like randomly stopping my selection tool. The lasso in random places and be like, you're done selecting.
What do you got? Clip Studio?
Photoshop CS6.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just having fun with that. How about you? How are you doing today?
I'm doing alright. Doing alright. On page 17 of Graveyard Shift 2.
Yeah, I heard you were on Joseph's channel last night.
That was
Right?
pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having fun working on the script there.
Me and James don't get along too well, but that's alright. He's not a bad guy. Yeah.
James Dean? He's
Yeah.
okay, yeah. I don't know, I like him. He talks a lot, but
Yeah, that was sort of the issue because I mean, every time I started something, he just jumped on top of it, you know. And I think it got sort of, you know, I mean, you're alive, right?
yeah.
Yeah. I just think I got a little like sort of combative after a while. Like every time I start, you know, we're just talking regular stuff, you know, art and passing on tips and stuff.
Yeah, it
And
gets frustrating.
yeah, and I think when he started going on about the image guys and stuff, I just decided I would take a sort of what do they call it, devil's advocate point of view. I don't know, maybe that's not right. A contrarian point of view. Because it was, I mean, it was a great success story, and obviously these guys they were the top talent in the business, and why wouldn't they be successful if they went on their own, you know? And so they, you know, but the fact is, only 2 of their books made it to issue 50, and that's Spawn and Savage Dragon.
Yeah, I don't know the exacts with it, but I know like just looking at images, like no, they're not successful. I'm sorry, they're not. Uh, the I mean, I guess they're a successful publisher because they have a lot of percentage, but they're not what they wanted to be, from what I know. And there's nothing iconic in Image, and their market sales and all like that were severely curtailed after they had that big splash at
Right.
when they first launched, and then everyone just like abandoned them because couldn't tell a good story. They just were all art, from what I understand. I didn't read any of this stuff.
You know, there was good and bad there. They obviously went on their own without taking any very talented writers with them, but eventually they were able to hire, writers. I mean, your work for hire, so you'll go who's willing to pay you, and sometimes the Image was willing to pay more. And they certainly, every time somebody became hot at Marvel, they would grab them and say, "Hey, come work here." And the only two guys that ever really turned them down were the Kuberts, who were really hot at the same time, Adam and Andy. So, there's good there, and there's, it's a story. You know what I mean? It's a part of the history of comics. But there was only been one movie, right? In the total of its. And I guess some of these independent ones that sort of use it as a publisher, like Lock and Key and in The Walking Dead, they end up bringing a lot of success to it because that's the imprint that's on their book is Image. But
Yeah, I
those
could have.
founding
Go ahead.
those founding guys didn't really, even though they were the best of the best, they didn't really achieve probably half of what they wanted to.
Yeah, they all went back to DC and Marvel too. So, except for I think Todd McFarlane, he's like, and
Yep.
Todd like expanded into multiple other areas.
Right.
So
So I think I mean, I took the contrarian point of view with James because I was just sort of, I was just a little bothered by getting jumped on a little bit. But he's not a bad guy, and I'm glad his book was successful. And we had him on FanSpeak one time and gave him a bunch of pointers and tips and things like that. And some of them, I actually looked back and saw that he made some changes to the pages. So maybe he eventually thought about some of that advice and decided that he would take it.
yeah, I mean, I love James, and he's got that personality that kind of grates on me with the talking pattern, but for me, that actually works when I'm trying to do this because I suck at talking to myself and talking online and everything. And you need to be able to talk, so he's good for me.
Right.
But let's see, why did I do that on wrong layer? Yeah. So who are you working with, like of the artists that were working on Graveyard Shift, or
There's
the
for
writer?
I'm working with Von Claus.
Ah,
There's this book called what? Something MD. God,
Monster MD or
Monster MD. That's it. You got it. And this is a very challenging script. It's very silent. There's not a lot of dialogue, but there's a lot of description, and some of it is tricky. Sometimes it's you're the person who's feeling the emotions is seeing this, but he also wants to see the emotions on the face. So you're like, oh my god. So this is either going to be a long shot or this, that, and it's been tricky. I have only had 2 pages that were 5-panel pages. I've had no 4-panel, no 3-panel. So, a lot of these are 6, 7, and 8-panel pages, and it's at the end here, it's kind of getting on me a little bit. Because I haven't even, like, I used to do this where I would go count how many panels, and then I would count how many figures I drew, and then be like, damn, that's so that breaks down to about like $4 a figure. But I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, that's a good way to feel depressed.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know if you read the scripts that I sent you but you noticed like a lot of it is like lower panel counts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And that's more modern comics, you know. Give the artist a little room to shine and convey what your dialogue's going to be without pinning him into, okay, this character's looking here and that character's looking there, and we want to see this, and you're like, oh, that's a magic bullet, you know.
Yeah, I'm more of the let the art speak for itself. If it doesn't need dialogue, it shouldn't have dialogue.
Right.
So, and other people that saw the original one is like, you have too many 2-page splashes, 2-page spreads. I was like, but it works. I don't know what your problem is.
Yeah, if it's like a landscape panel and then a bunch of little panels down the bottom, I love those pages, those type of pages, you know, because that landscape is meant to be a long shot that you can really bring the people into the environment, you know.
Yeah, and also depending on how you uh, do that stuff, it gives a feeling to the comic itself. Like the reason you do those more in line with the 3-page thing is because it feels more open. And the smaller panels with a lot of stuff in there moves faster and it's more and it's tighter. And you feel more claustrophobic when you're doing that type of stuff.
Right.
That's one thing I don't know how many people, of the new people, that are just trying to be writers now actually know. Because I don't know, like, what's your take on how many people are actually new to writing and new to comics and all like that that are putting out stuff in Comicsgate?
Oh boy.
Or is that not a subject you want to talk about?
Well, no, I don't want to. You know, it's. I worked hard to garner the space I'm in right now, where I have paid work lined up for the next year and a half. So, looking at the model of success and going, oh, okay, I can put out my own comic, and not realizing some of the hurdles that you have to sort of cross over to be successful at that, and realize the people that are showing you the success by what they get their book funded for are people that brought cachet with them.
Well, a lot of them did. Well,
right.
I'd say a percent of them did.
So when you think like, oh, if they can do it, I can do it, that's not, that's not an accurate statement whatsoever. So you got to realize that even if you follow sort of the image model, those guys that do those books, if it's not what you call Eternity what is it? Eternity 7? No, that's not the name of it. But if it's not one of the hot books, then it's like almost no money except for the art, the team is being paid, but sometimes the writer takes a hit. He's got to wait for his money on the trade. I've heard plenty of writers talk about, man, I just didn't make, I was published through Image, but I just didn't make any money, or you didn't really make the kind of money you thought you were going to make. And now imagine those guys who they have to go through such a stringent process to get the people who read the books that make the decisions over there, like Jim Valentino and Eric Stevenson, to believe in them. Because how many things have these guys read, and they're like, man, this seems like something we already did already. So, you're going to sit here on this end and go, oh, if they can do it, I can do it. And it's tougher than you think. And first and foremost, you should find a team of people that you can really work with, and get some of the, realize that, what, I'm either going to have to give up a lot of back end here, or pay up front what the person's asking. But if you want the book to look professional, you're going to have to go after some people that are either on the cusp of it, of like, oh, any day now this guy could end up, turning pro, or get people who are past the learning curve, that are just, not quite there, but they'll get there. And they might get there in, say you do a 60-page book, they might get there by the time they get to page 60, where their work really, really shines and they've learned how to tell the story. But man, some of the things that end up going on Indiegogo are, there's no magic to them. You know what I mean? They're just, there's no fundamentals, there's no good storytelling. You don't see the storytelling in the pages and the art. If you don't get it, you don't get to read it, right? So I can't really say anything about the writers, but I look at the artists and I go, I'm really surprised that there's not somebody like saying, no, rein it back a little bit and polish yourself a little bit. Now there's two guys that I really like, that are in one of the books I'm in. It's called Tales from Beyond the Gate, and it's Macho Dan and Muttman. And I've watched plenty of Muttman's work live and have seen him get better, So their book didn't fund, and you could see something, like I remember we had them on FanSpeak, and he told the guy,
Is
there
that
was something.
Sporkman?
Nope.
Or
It was called Hero, but it was Hiro.
oh yeah, they made a terrible mistake with that name. Just like, if you're going to put out a book, you need to look at what's around it. You shouldn't be naming it something generic like Hero to begin with, but there's also another book that's called Hero that was doing the same thing at the exact same time, and I think there was even a third one somewhere. Like,
yeah, and those books are all very different, but it probably led to some confusion. But you could see that Muttman wasn't quite ready, and he's gotten a lot better. And I give them kudos for, like, reeling it back and going, okay, we're going to redraw these pages, and not just because they're going to try again, right? So, some people might try again and just go, well, I'll throw up different pages there, and we'll just keep pages 1 through 10 that we already drew. No, it's not going to work. Because you want that. What you're trying to do is create a base. Now, you might get your first book certainly funded if it has good art. But when they get in that book and they read it and whatever, and they're going, I think I'm gonna follow these guys no matter where they go. That's what you're trying to do, right?
yeah, and you don't want it the other way of this is terrible, this is terrible, this is terrible. Please
Right.
end, please end. Because that's what happens to me when I'm starting to read something that I don't like. It's like, please God, shoot me. I don't want to read this anymore.
Right. So I think there's a lot of books that they they kind of miss the mark a little bit, and I'm surprised that there are books that I'm surprised actually get funded at all.
Yeah, honestly, when I look at everything that's been on Indiecron, I go, there's nothing that's an A rank. There's absolutely nothing that's A rank with, like, character IPs. Even Cyberfrog I would put as, like, maybe like a high B. Like, there's just, like, some spark that's missing, and I don't know what it is. But if you can tell the difference with, like, say, like, it's an easy one, but Superman's on obvious A rank. there's something there. There's something iconic. You don't really need anything else behind it to really stand out. But a lot of these books, you look at it, and it's like, I'm not sure that I really want to read something about that character or that story or anything about it. It might be a good read. It might even be a good story, but there's something missing about it. And that thing that's missing, I think, is hard to quantify. You just gotta like feel it. I don't know. I'm probably in the minority about that opinion. So
No, no. You know, certainly a thing like Cyberpunk lends itself, like, obviously to CG. I don't mean comics. I mean like CGI or cartoon, or it would probably look great as an action figure and stuff like that. So the IP is sort of limited into what it could, you know, it could. I mean, it could end up being the next. Well, Turtles was a perfect timing, a stroke of genius, I guess you could call it. But you know, it could end up being a cartoon. You know, as easily. I honestly, you know what? I mean, I've never read any of the Cyberfrog books
neither have I. So
when they came out originally through Harris Comics, and that was his actual first work. So I don't have them. I never read them. So I don't really know how clever the story is or the character is, or you know, and maybe it has some magic there and stuff that if you got into it, you could see the idea of it being something bigger than it is, you know.
yeah, and certainly I just using Superman as an example, and even Batman, and Wolverine, and those type of characters, they probably didn't have that magic right off the bat. So
No,
you got time to develop it.
yeah, definitely.
And like now that he's doing it independently, it'll probably be uh, Cyberfrog independently. I mean, it'll probably be better than it was in the original, especially after 20 years of experience. Like a lot better.
Right. Oh, it definitely looks. I mean, his art is amazing. You know, I always looked at Ethan's work for his faces, his characters, his way of how he threw a lot of detail into the faces and still captured the iconic look of Hal Jordan or Barry Allen, or you know, these type of characters. Superman, even he's drawn some, not Superman per se, but obviously in those books he's had to draw a Superman. So in his style, he captured those iconic looks of the character, and that's always a telltale sign of how good somebody is, because that's what they want. You know, there's always an outlier. I'm not saying like a character like, or a guy artist named like Josh Middleton, who has done some Superman. His Superman doesn't resemble the Superman you know, because his work leans itself towards a cartoony aspect. And even sort of, what's his name, Mike Kunkel? Have you ever heard of Hero Bear?
No.
No, they let Mike Kunkel draw Shazam, you know, and he's comes from the animation field. So when it comes to the flagship titles like JLA and things like that, you want to see those iconic characters resemble what they look like, or what they've either like how they have evolved into what they look like now, because obviously the artists from the 50s and 60s and stuff drew less realistic than they do now. But you get the idea of, you know, like John Byrne's Superman is burned into your head, but he wasn't the first person to draw him looking that way. You know, actually John Byrne sort of gave him a bigger chest and broader shoulders. But you know, you get the idea behind your style, but it's still iconic. it still looks like Superman. Anybody could look at it and go, oh, that's Clark Kent, or that's Bruce Wayne, because you're still keeping on what's called on model. And Ethan was always very good at that.
Yeah, I don't know enough of his work to really say. Like I've read the whatchamacallit, Green Lantern Rebirth,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. I haven't read like other Green Lanterns to know like how close it is to the original stuff. And I don't follow creators. It I just go, oh, that's like a good song that I like. That's a good book that I like. And so I very rarely know who created what or anything like that.
See, when I started doing that when I was younger, finding artists whose work I admired and kind of wanted to push my own work towards, and so I have sort of a narrow, I don't have a narrow appreciation, but I have a narrow purchasing power. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But my appreciation is not narrow; it's very wide, and sometimes I wish I could get less realistic and sort of draw like Jorge Fornes. He's doing some really good work right now on Batman.
Yeah, I started off when I started drawing more in line with Turtles and Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I had a Western style at some point, but then somewhere along the lines I started drawing more anime stuff. So, and then I just like never developed past that point. Cause like I stopped drawing about 15 years ago. Was burned out from animation school.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Uh, I got to the point where I couldn't even draw a circle straight. Like, like a circle as a circle.
Right.
I went to class and I was like, they're like, all you have to do is draw a circle. Do a ball animation. I'm like, oh, this is simple. I just couldn't. I spent like 2 hours trying to draw a freaking circle and nothing. It was like all distorted and warped and everything.
Hmm.
And when you're getting to that point, you're just like, you need something to get you back to normalcy. You need time to recover.
Right.
But at the same time, I was like eating really unhealthily, and I was not sleeping properly, and I had a 2 root canals that I had to have. So it could also be the result of that, but yeah, the school was pretty much designed to burn you out.
Yeah.
And I felt bad for some of the people there because there's this one person that I knew. They were a comic artist. I don't know what she drew, but she made a promise to her grandmother or mother before they died that
Mm-hmm.
she would go to college, and she selected the college that I went to, or whatever. I guess it's a college, the Art Institute of Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And she ran out of money, or she had to take an extended break or something like that. And if you miss more than a quarter of that school, they make you restart from the very beginning of the program.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm not a big fan of the American college system, to be honest.
Well, that school is a scam school, so I went because my grandparents were like, "You should go to college," and so I was like, "Oh, okay, I don't want to, but I guess I will." And in Electronic Gaming Monthly, the magazine, they were like, "Yeah, this is one of the top 5 best schools for game design in the world. I was like, oh, well, this seems reasonable to go to then. It seemed fun during the fun and educational during the summer thing.
So did you get any work in the field of study?
No,
Is that sort of a location thing? You're just not in the right location, or
you mean for animation? Nah,
yeah,
nah. Just well, I didn't make it through to like a point where I would get the any jobs for that. And even if I did, it would be the school itself has a reputation. Like I heard a story where a guy completed the course, the entire got the degree from the place,
yeah.
and they went for a job, and they got the company just laughed at him sort of, and they're like, "Well, you have talent, but you went to this college, and so you don't know what the hell you're doing." And they sent him back to college, fully paid, but because he had talent, but they weren't gonna hire him as he was.
It's too bad.
Uh, but me, I've never had like a solid job, because lots of reasons.
So I see you around, obviously, in the on FanSpeak and stuff like that, and some of the other places that I'm like Good Dog Press and.
I don't think I've ever been on Good Dog Press's show. I've never like
No, not on
jumped
it,
in.
but I see you around like in the.
No, I mean in Good Dog Press's chat room. I don't
Oh
know.
no, really?
No, I don't. Maybe once, but I'm not sure.
Is it John Dillard where I see you a lot? Just
No,
FanSpeak.
I don't follow him much either.
Oh really? Where do I see your name a lot? In what chat?
Uh,
Just FanSpeak.
Fanspeak, Gary Shipmans maybe. Melons, Edwin, EVS. I don't know. Can't think of it. Why am I painting that white? I don't know, there's a few places that I've seen you around at during the thing.
See, this does not work. What am I doing?
E Ortiz maybe.
Yeah, maybe. What am I doing? I just screwed something up.
Are you sharing your screen or no?
No,
Okay.
I don't think I can. I mean, I know how to, but I don't think I'm allowed to, unfortunately.
Oh. Oh, I have on OBS, so I have it just directly on my screen, but I can switch to the Hangout mode. So if
Right.
anyone wants to share anything or draw along or whatever, I have that option.
I think
I don't like those green eyes.
I don't know what I'm doing. What I'm thinking.
Guess I'll go with brown. Hey, Pegan. So, like, I've never gotten heard you say exactly what you've done in the industry. I've picked up that you're been a lot in around in the industry, but I don't know exactly what your story is.
um, I did some work for a company called Charlatan Neo Comics, and they're basically old. They use a lot of old characters from Charlatan Comics from they started out in the 40s, by the way. So they use a lot of these what they call public domain characters that nobody owns.
Yeah.
Because some of these guys worked there back then, or maybe got their start. But a lot of these characters were created by Steve Ditko. So they sort of took this tact of we're going to keep Steve Ditko's characters alive, and they started doing that a few years ago. So there's a few hybrid characters that people kind of forgot about and stuff like that. And then they actually got Steve to do some design. So they've kind of, before he passed away, and they've sort of done these, these things where that's what they're kind of doing. And I did basically what, do you know who Paul Cooperberg is?
Cooperberg, no.
He was an editor. He was a writer and editor at DC for over 40 years and did some Marvel work and stuff like that. His brother was an artist named Alan Cooperberg, and basically he came to me and said, hey, can you create a character that is sort of a what do you call it? A sort of homage. Yeah, I'll use that. Of the Question. And that's basically what I did, is created a character called the Blank. And instead of if you're not familiar with the Question, he has a mask that sort of looks like flesh, and it's flat. It almost looks like he has no face. He's a DC character, by the way.
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
I don't think he started out as a DC character. He might have been a Charlatan character that DC bought.
Yeah, I think he was. I know he wasn't a DC character originally.
So, yeah, this character, Blank, doesn't have a trench coat, but he wears a suit and a fedora. And so what I came up with was, instead of his face being blank, his face is a mirror. So he's sort of looks like the Silver Surfer in a suit and fedora. It's basically what you see, And that way, the villain, like if he's fighting somebody, they're seeing, they're seeing themselves. So the fear of, man, I'm looking at this man who has like a metallic mirror face, and I can only see myself, is sort of daunting. And he loved it. And so we did an issue of that, and I've done that. I've done some work at Heavy Metal Comics. That work was with a friend of mine. It was called Narcopolis? No, that's not it. Is it Narcopolis? No, it might be just Narcopolis. And it's basically about, the future and these pills that you take and the things that happen and stuff like that. And I did a cover for them. That's published. I did some other things that are published, but not much else. So I've been around, but I haven't been paid. I'm just now getting to that point where people are willing to pay me.
Yeah, you haven't hit that big stride yet that will launch you into whatever.
Yeah, I think I just hit it basically. just with this win of doing Graveyard Shift, and then I'm going to be doing a book called Florida Man with Cautionary Comics.
How is that working with Ben and John?
These guys are really good, really fair, really enthusiastic. I'm going to be the writer of Florida Man is Mike Barron, who, in my opinion, of all the work of his I've ever read, has never written a bad book. So I'm kind of lucky in that respect.
Yeah, I didn't like how Mike came onto like Comicsgate. Like that wasn't his fault. Because
Right.
remember the first time he came on, he was EVS was offered him the American manga thing,
Right.
and I was like, I don't care how good of a writer he is. You just listen to him, and he doesn't know what he's talking about. There's like, he doesn't know the genre. Maybe he can study it or whatever, and then maybe he does that, but it's like he's not hitting you with what you said you were looking for. So that's like the only thing I really know of Mike Barron. I assume he's a really good writer though.
No, he is a good writer. He wrote Nexus and Badger, Batman a few times, a lot of DC work, a lot of fill-in stuff. So yeah, he has a pretty decent cachet of books that he's written over the years.
Yeah, I don't think think I'm trying to trash these people because I'm sort of hypercritical of everyone. One of my favorite uh, writers is Chuck Dixon, and I'm like, even Chuck Dixon has like that one really, really, really horrible Batman story. It's in Tales of the Batman or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I read that, I'm like, wow, this is garbage. Who the hell wrote this? And then I looked it up, like, no fucking way. Uh, so that kind of is like semi-inspiring because like even the good people can have bad days.
But sometimes you don't. Sometimes there's a story behind that. You know, back in the day when um these guys were like the mainstays in the industry, they would get work, obviously, this fast. You know, I know Marvel seems like a perfectly running machine, but there was even times in its heyday that it was, and they just got it done. So that could have been one of those situations where like,
Yeah.
uh, we need this pronto.
Yeah, and not to mention, that was when I'm pretty sure he was working on like 4 or 5 Batman books at the exact same time. So it's like eventually you're just gonna turn out one that's like bad. No matter how good of a writer you are, it's like
Hmm.
it's bound to freaking happen. And with Marvel, I think they're. I've heard horror stories where it's like 2 weeks turnaround, where like like you have to put out something in 2 weeks, and they haven't even written the script yet. It's like how the fuck can you even do that? I don't know if I ever ran a company and it got to that point when if it's a comic company, I, I think I would have to like just shut everything down for a minute and be like, let's correct this shit right now, because that shouldn't be happening.
Right.
And it'd be worth it to just shut it down for like a few days and reassess everything, or even like a month or so, because then you can get everything back in order. And have you been working on your other book? I think it's Ignition at the same time, or have you been too
been too busy. It's sort of kind of on hold, and unfortunately, that's it's gonna piss the writer off a lot. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. Because I mean, I'm gonna get back to it, right? Like while I'm doing Florida Man, I'm gonna finish issue 1, or the issue that we want to fund. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's actually 3 pages, but I'm gonna get it. I swore that I would get it to halfway, so that we could go ahead and try to fund it. But I don't know. We'll see. You know what I mean? This is sort of a racket, and it's not easy.
I don't know, like if I was in that position of your writer, I'd actually be willing to take that hit of taking some extra time off because you're working on Graveyard Shift and like that, and that'll build clout.
Right.
That's how I would look at it.
Yeah, and if we're lucky, maybe we can get Cautionary Comics to publish Ignition,
Yeah.
And I look back at my Ignition pages and go, God, I got to do better than that. So it's okay, when we get it there, we want it to be right. That's way more important. And so right now that's the case. It's on hold, and we'll see, we'll see how it goes. But I mean, it's I don't know if you've seen any of the pages that I was showing prior to me getting involved with CG, and well, not right after I got involved.
I'm
That's
pretty
got
sure
more.
I have, but I don't remember because it's been probably a while.
They kind of got noticed, and that's where things started to turn around. I was actually sort of pushed into CG, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah. It's one of those type stories. Which is, it is what it is. What are you gonna do? But
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
a trans colorist that kind of put me on her list, because I didn't like any character that's name started with Gwen Stacy. It's abomination. She shouldn't be alive. That's the whole. That'd be like bringing back Ben Parker. That's why Peter is who he is. That's why he's had some of the trouble in his life. Is because he saw his father figure die in front of him, and he was at fault. So that created who he became, and I don't mean he became Spider-Man, but what type of hero he became, and that's important. So imagine if all of a sudden there's Ben Parker walking around. How stupidly tragic that would be.
Well, Gwen Stacy's death is all about that reminding him of the whole with great power comes great responsibility. It's a addendum of that is like with great power means you gotta actually use that shit right. It's like,
Right.
otherwise, you're even with the best of intentions, you still end up with bad outcomes.
Right.
Which might be a reason why they're trying to erase that situation from happening. I'm not saying anything, but a lot of their ideas of stuff. It's like, yeah, it's a great idea that to have homosexuals in comics. It's great. It's like, don't have a problem with it. It's a great idea to have trans in there. No problem with it. But just because it's a good idea doesn't mean it's the right thing to do at that exact moment. It doesn't mean that any way that you go about doing it is the right thing to do. And Gwen Stacy is sort of that supposed to be that reminder within that story. So if they try to erase her, then they can get rid of that message. I don't know. I think a lot of the what SJWs are doing is incidentally telling of like other things that they're trying to do. Like there's a whole lot of the trying to take over children's stuff, or what Western audiences consider children's media, and there
Right.
seems to be a lot of pedophiles in there. It's like, huh. It's like, I wonder if they have anything to do with each other. It's kind of creepy to think that it could have something to do with that, but... And if they were doing it intentionally, that would be... I just have no words for that one.
Right. Yeah, you know, that's, I don't know. There's I've worked in entertainment, and there's a lot of deviant people in Hollywood. You know what I mean? There's a lot of deviant people.
Yeah, I assume so. Creatives are always somewhat strange in various ways, so...
Right.
Oops, that was a mistake. Damn it. I think that's 2. Oh, that's about right.
Are you showing it? Because I'm drawing while you're doing. Are you showing it?
Yeah.
I have, oh, okay. Let me
Yeah,
look.
it's just not sharing on the Hangout.
Oh.
It's on a YouTube video.
Oh, let me go there. Now you're making me work.
I did include the link in the channel. Yeah, watching me color is kind of odd because it's like I'm just clicking all day for like 4 or 5 hours.
Spell it again. What's the name of your channel?
It's DURAKKEN.
Oh, 2 Ks. 2 Rs. There it is. Okay, well, I'm your 151st subscriber. So that means you can have your contest.
Huh?
No, I'm just kidding.
Contest? What contest is that?
For having 150 subscribers. You made it over the 150.
Really? I didn't know it was over 150 now.
Oh, so you're flatting.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
Oh, I like your style. God, it reminds me of the guy that used to do... I don't know if her name was Amber Rose. Oh my lord. What was that book?
Are you talking about the art or the coloring?
The art.
Oh, that's it's It's Chicken Seth's art.
Oh, man, he reminds me of this guy that was around years ago that did a book called, I think her name was Amber Rose, but I'm not sure. It was something Rose. And, frick. Let me Google. Let's see.
Yeah, I forgot. Like, I know him from other places, and I looked at it, I was like, wow, he's actually good. It's like, I wasn't expecting him to be good. Flame. Let's go there.
That does not look like Amber Rose. Something else. It's gonna bug me all night now. Because Amber Rose is some kind of celebrity.
Ah, crap, I don't know what the proper color for that is. It's gotta be in there somewhere. It's like gold, but red. And that doesn't transition well. Oh well.
Jeez, that's gonna bug me. Maybe I should go to my favorite, why does this happen? Y'all, I need to be drawing.
Yeah, most of my subscribers are actually people who saw a comment that I left on like other people's videos, and they followed me from like years back. They have no idea about any of this art stuff. So it's kind of funny that it's like, you have 100 some subscribers. I'm like, yeah, but only about 20 of them are for anything to do with art or comics or anything like that.
Alright, that's gonna bug me. Can't find it. Can't figure it out. It was, I swear to God, there are characters in this book that remind me of Liberty Meadows. I just can't remember the name. I don't know if anybody's watching this, but there was a book called Amber something, and this guy's style reminds me of that artist. And he had a very cheesecakey, Cho-ish style. Not so much the graphic nature of Cho, but very much sort of the humor nature of Cho when he was doing Liberty Meadows. Because there was a few characters that were animals in this book, and yeah. Yep, that's gonna bug me.
I don't know, the heavy line weight actually reminds me of what James Dean does usually with all his art.
James Dean of Conflict?
Yeah. That is the wrong color.
Do you like flatting?
Not really. But it is sort of like, it gives you a zen feeling up a little bit.
So it's sort of therapeutic, is what you're saying?
Yeah. And I do all this with a mouse, so...
Really?
Yeah, I don't have a tablet or anything like that. Can't afford one. It's also why it takes forever. Well, longer than I would suspect it would take with a tablet. So all this stuff I could just easily like circle and be done with it and hit all these lines a lot easier.
Right.
And it's funny, it's like if you try to do like a crescent shape with the mouse, it's like I can't do that. So I have to go over it. I have to like draw out a regular like fat line, and then I have to go over and just like erase like the sides of it.
So you're constantly adding to whatever you select. Like if you're tracing, you can't do too much. So you have to keep adding.
Yeah, I have to kind of go over what I want and then like back off of it when I'm like doing the shadows and the light. Mostly the shadow colors. Oops. Yeah, back in art college, I took the art. I took whatchamacallit, color theory, and then I never even thought about it, and I didn't really care for it. And I was like, I'll just color, and then now I'm trying to think of all the rules from it. Like, oh, that's kind of useful. And I wish I would have paid attention more when I was younger than so that all the information would have stuck in my head better. Something I've noticed about like coloring other people's works is if they're a digital artist mainly, or if they're if it's a digital work, usually they'll not have these like fat lines. They'll always be like down to 1 pixel width, and it drives me nuts when I try to flat. It's like I don't know where to put the freaking colors.
Hmm.
But yeah, flatting takes like way long. When I figured that out, I was sort of like, why are colorists being paid so much and flatters being paid so little and have no recognition?
Yeah, right.
Because flatters are doing all the work. Takes me like 3 hours to flat something, like, and 30 minutes to color it, to render it. It's like, yeah. And then I think that would be like $20 for the flatting and the like what $100 for the 20 minutes of work.
Right.
Creativity is so unfair. Yeah, it's really screwy because if you really think about it, it's like the immediate work process of all this stuff. The flatter is probably like the second person who does the second most work,
Right.
like time wise.
Yeah, because you're doing it. It's longer than the colors, for sure. Because I've I've done pages where I've flatted 5 pages in a row and then gone back and colored them. And yeah, flatting is. I've gotten faster though. And you know what? Honestly, to tell you the truth, there are some people that are very fast at flatting. They're just really good at being on the trace. And I almost want to say, well then, if you're really good at doing that, maybe you should become an inker and just learn a little flair, you know? But
Yeah, I couldn't say whether inker is faster or not. I would, because I'm not good enough at inking ever to say how fast or slow that actually is. But yeah, you definitely should become an inker if you can do it really fast.
yeah, if you can trace a line really good.
I don't know, I just recently had people start asking me to do things for them, and possibly got a first commission. And they're like, "How much do you charge?" And I was like, "I have no idea. Like, I don't know how relatively good I am, so I can't give you a amount based on that. I can tell you how much time it takes, sorta, kinda, but it depends on how complicated it is. So that's not a fair assessment."
Don't worry about it. That's how I did it. That's how I started out. Like, hey, I'm just gonna have to do it this way. I'm gonna have to, tell you how long it took me. And we'll go from there.
Yeah, I was just like, minimum wage is like $10 an hour. Uh, takes about 2 hours. Like, if
I've
it's
only actually done one commission, by the way. But
what was that?
I've only done one commission
Really?
in my life. Yeah. And Joe gets a lot of digital commissions, and I'm like, man, I better figure it out. Because I always think people don't want digital commissions. Like, who wants my digital work? They want it on paper. I mean, I can print it out on paper, obviously, or do whatever with it. But I always think they don't want it.
That's weird. No,
He gets them, though.
I would guess that Joseph has art that's more medieval, and because it's more medieval, its style fits that genre, and that's the D&D crowd, and so they probably like that more. I've
Yeah.
noticed that the D&D crowd likes that stuff. Same with furries and stuff like that too. I don't think they really care about having the original art. Because it's not about really having the original art for them. And it's the same with a lot of anime web novel people. They just want a cover. They don't really care about having the original art there.
Right.
And honestly, the only thing I care about like original art for is when I look at the like Indiegogos and tiers, I'm like, that could make bank. What the heck are you doing? Like that, if you can sell that up part of it, like you can like just pay it off with that stuff. You know, have it completely financed that way. Where people buy the pages as you make them,
Right, right.
or pay for the pages themselves, and you're just getting profits off of everything else. So. And then also if it becomes really big or whatever, then they have collectible items.
All right, I'm gonna have to get going.
All right.
It was great to hang out with you. We'll do it again.
Yep. I should have ended this 9 minutes ago because I wanna do the thing with watch whatchamacallit, Drawn and Quartered.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot. So I'll just call you Dragon.
Yeah.
Later.
All right.
Take
Talk
care.
to you later. Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, whoever's watching, I'm gonna call it quits because I'm gonna go watch Drawn and Quartered. So, thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys all later. Goodbye.